We need to do that more often. That's neat. Next week, we'll do much the same in that we'll have praise and worship songs together, and that will be kind of fun as well. It's called the Sandy Ridge Horde. Have you heard of it? Happened about 2 years ago. What happened was a couple, while they were walking their dog on their property, they spotted what looked like a tin can buried in the ground. And so the gentleman leaned over and thought, well, I'll pick it up. It's on my property. I'll get rid of it. I could maybe cut someone's foot. So he leaned over and brushed the dirt away, and it was pretty heavily buried, you could see. It was bigger than he thought it might be as well, so he dug it out. Inside, he thought, well, it's pretty heavy. Maybe it's like old paint or something that's just been rotting here in our yard. And so he pried the top of the can off. And inside the old coffee can, he found gold coins from the 1800s. Gold coins filling the can. Some of the gold coins were worth in excess of $1 million. It's buried in his ground. He took his metal detector. I don't know if he owned one before that, but it wouldn't take long to get one of those, would it? He took his metal detector and he went around and he found 7 more cans buried in his yard and dug them up. Total intake over $10 million of buried treasure. How many of you are going to be digging around your yard this afternoon? No. Yeah, and here's the funny thing is you don't know. There could be something there, right? There could be. Some of you have more ground to dig in. So, unfortunately, when we were doing the parsonage, no tin can showed up as we had the big excavators in there and such. So, but it's neat, isn't it? It's a story that kind of captures our imagination. Like, boom! It's like, yeah. What would that do to you if all of a sudden you had $10 million more than you have today? It would help our bank account. Sometimes I hear Laura late at night, and she's just mumbling in her sleep. No, she doesn't. Yes, it changes everything, doesn't it? Doesn't it change a lot of things? Now, how many of you are like, wouldn't change me a speck? I'm the same today, and I'm going to be the same forever, and so what I have to... I'm sorry, it's going to change things, though. If you don't think so, think how your relatives treat you all of a sudden. It's like, I have this project that, I just need some funding, actually, but, I don't want to bother, but let me tell you about this that I'm thinking. People coming out of the woodworks, right? It will change things. It may not change your heart, and I hope that would be the case, but it does change things instantaneously. In Balch Springs, Texas, Laura, do you know where that is? It's might as well be Dallas. I mean, it's just a little suburb there, right? About 15 minutes from where my daughter lives, there was a $49 million lotto winner that's yet to turn up. And the ticket's been purchased. $49 million. Tickets purchased. Didn't somebody say? If I told you that I had that ticket right now, if I were to tell you that indeed, as I was visiting my daughter, which I haven't done, I stopped at the Quick Stop, which is where it was purchased, and I purchased the ticket. Now, it could be me because about once every 10 years, I will allow God to give me grace upon grace and bless me beyond what I can possibly imagine. And about once every 10 years, I will buy a lottery ticket. Have any of you bought a lottery ticket? Anyone want to confess with me that you have bought a lottery? How many people feel bad about buying a lottery ticket? Anyone? No? One or two? Okay, I kind of feel like, God really wants that money. He gives you money. But maybe I need to step out in faith and actually buy a ticket from now, just once in a while. So about every 10 years, I think it's about time I do buy a lottery ticket. But then, what I do with it is I never look at it. I never go to, like, the paper or online or however you do. I never look to see if I won anything. So, if I would have been in Gulf Springs and bought that ticket, I would be the one that, I have no idea. Now, I would have $49 million at my disposal, but I wouldn't live like I had $49 million at my disposal because I would never check. I figured, well, they'll call me, won't they? They don't call you. So, how many times could I have won and just don't know? Don't know. But it wouldn't change as much, would it? It would change, right? It absolutely would change things. Our story today is about buried treasure. And it's something that kind of hits us viscerally in the bottom of our souls as we instantly can identify that this idea of going from nearly nothing to a whole lot would make all the world of difference. It would impact us in significant ways. About the only people who $49 million wouldn't impact would be people who already had $49 million. So it does. It impacts. So we have the story. We have the story in the Gospel of Matthew. It's a parable, a very, very short parable, but it says so much and so little. So let's look at that and let's examine what this parable is doing. Now, I'm going to give you kind of an outline that we'll kind of go through twice, but it's a short outline. The first thing that we have to agree on is that the value of the treasure is real. If in this story that Jesus tells about this hidden treasure, if we don't understand that the value of the treasure is real, we miss the point of the story. The second thing that we'll look at is the joy from the treasure is palpable. It's unmistakable. It's unmistakable. That the joy that comes through this treasure is what changes things. And that's really our last point as well, as we look at how the joy from the treasure forever changes the one who finds it. First, the value is real. See, the story makes zero sense if the hearer can't understand that this treasure is real and valuable. Let's look at it. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and he hid again. And from joy over it, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. So the kingdom of heaven, Jesus says, is like a treasure. We could stop right there and say that says a whole lot, doesn't it? The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure. Do we value Christ's rule in our hearts and our lives? Is it like a treasure rich and deep for us? So it's like a treasure, but then he goes on and he says, it's like a treasure. It's hidden. It's hidden. It's not just out there. It's not like everyone has access to this treasure. No, this man is there. We don't know what the man's doing. We just know that it's a man. And he comes and he finds this treasure. He comes and he finds this treasure. Now what happens instantly from this story is the man finds the treasure, and then it says he hides it. Oh, why does he hide it? Why would he hide it? Why not take it? See, wouldn't it make more sense? You stumble along this treasure and you take it with you because you found it. Finders, keepers, losers, weepers. But you see, this man apparently wanted to obtain legal rights over the buried treasure. In our opening story, when we talked about the Sandy Ridge hoard that they found, the man found it on his own property. He didn't need to, go through the legal wranglings to claim ownership of those 18th century gold coins. It was his. See, that's what this man wants to do, is he wants to maintain legal ownership of those coins. He knows in that day and age that he would bring this money forward, that being the close-knit groups they were, the elders would sit at the gates and they would judge. In fact, the rabbis had all kinds of rules and regulations established for when you find money or treasure and how you have to go about it. And exacting details, exactly where it was found and who may have owned the property originally and what happened in the process and how each case would be different. So it was very, very possible that this man would have no possibility of ever spending this money unless he could claim legal authority over it. Legal authority over it. So he hides it. He reburies it. Now, he doesn't own the field, right? He doesn't own the field, so he needs to acquire the field. How many of you think, well, maybe he should just go tell the owner that, hey, it's on your property, saw this treasure sticking up. Maybe you know about, maybe you don't. There's probably $50 million there. How many of you think that probably should have been what he did? Anyone go for that? He saw the value of the treasure and he has it. Now, remember in those days you really didn't have banks, and if you did have banks, well, if an army comes in, those banks are going to be, the safest place for your money was not the bank at that point. The safest place for your money is you bury it. And you don't tell anybody about it, not even your wife. No, anybody buried out back. But you don't tell people about it. Well, what happens is that armies come in and they would actually look for things that earth has been disturbed and such, and see if people had buried some of their treasures and such. And so the hope is, well, even if an army comes in or there's unrest in the land, they don't find the treasure, we can come back later and acquire that treasure because I know where it is. So this was a common thing. And so you would take any of your valuables, hide it, and so this man, he wants to be able to acquire this. Now, in the process of acquiring that land, he's going to find out real quick whether the owner of the land currently knows that treasure's there. And it's pretty clear that the owner doesn't know that treasure's there. In other words, the past owner or past landowner in that situation has maybe passed on, no one knows it's been there, now it kind of surfaces and here it is. So he goes to acquire the land. Obviously, if the owner knows it's there, he digs it up and says, sure, you have the land. He goes, he digs it up, and the man has nothing. But he's pretty certain that the guy doesn't know it's there. And so he finds out. He goes through and he gathers everything he can. Now, I don't know how much property that thing goes for, but it's probably more than this man has, because he says he sells everything he has in order to obtain that piece of land. He sells everything he has. If I had that Gulf Spring lotto ticket for $49 million, and I said, you know what, I often don't check these things. Someone told me that I actually won. But really, it's a piece of paper. Right now, I'm going to sell this piece of paper because I don't want it to corrupt my soul, because I'm a godly person. So I don't want it to corrupt my soul. So I'm going to sell it to anyone who, all I want is $50,000. That's all I want. How many of you would give me $50,000 for that lotto ticket? Okay, go 1, 2, 3. Now, how many of you you'd have to wrangle a bit to get a hold of $50,000? It's not like, I don't think I'd have it with me, but, hold on. Now, how many of you think, it's good, that's stupid? You're lying to me. I know you're a pastor, but you're lying to me. There's no way you give away something worth $49 million for $50,000. How many of you are there? You just wouldn't trust me, no matter how much I said, no, it's there. So a few of you said, yeah, I wouldn't trust you, Ted. No, I'd lose my 50 grand again. Okay? But let's say it is true, and I really am that foolish, and I was going to give away this $49 million lotto ticket, which again, Laura, I do not have. Trust me. It would be a good deal for you, would it not? So that's what this man is doing. He's maybe calling relatives and says, hey, I need this. Hey, I saw that you kind of like the tractor I got recently. I'd sell it to you. He's looking at everything he has in order to come up with the money it will take to buy this land. Everything. In fact, we see how that treasure absolutely is changing this person. Now, how many of you think that he's just wringing his hands thinking, I can't believe how much I have to give up. I just can't believe. No. The scripture says he's doing it out of joy. He's just as excited as can be. Joy is what's because why? He sees the hope of joy. Why do you buy a lottery ticket? Because for $1, you see the hope of joy in front of you, right? Because you don't envision you losing, though I often do because I never check the numbers, but you envision yourself, well, it could happen. Why not? Someone's got to win it, right? And so for $1, you're buying a little hope. The hope of what? Of joy, of having life change in significant ways. This is what is driving the man. Well, that's the basic storyline, right? We got the man. We got it. Well, what does Jesus mean by it? What's the point of the whole story? Well, how do I take that very real, tangible, this is the way the world works type of thing about money and riches and all that, and focus on what does that really mean to me? Because he says the kingdom of heaven is like that. Well, it sounds like heaven's a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. We're going to be hunting treasure. The treasure is Christ himself. Just like the other kingdom parables, the very first thing that is mentioned after the kingdom of heaven is like. The very next word that comes after each of those parables is always an image of Christ himself. Always an image of Christ himself. And in this case, the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure. It doesn't say like a man who found a treasure. It says like a treasure. What's the treasure? It's Christ himself. It's Christ himself. And this man who realizes the value, the immense value that Christ is, he's willing to give up anything to obtain. Anything at all. His life is completely changed. Because why? Because it has real value. And so it's like, JJ, I don't know if I really want to get too involved with this Christianity thing and all these rules. Like what are there? 10 or 11 of these commandments I need to follow and such. And then there's all these other rules and such. And I really hate that, Jesus says he cares about what I do with my body and such. And I don't know if that's giving up a whole lot. No. It's about joy. You don't think, hey, this is what I give up. You're thinking, this is the joy I have. People say, well, what do you get when you come to Christ? What do you get, brothers and sisters, when you get Christ? You get the treasure. You get Him. You have everything. Well, JJ, I just don't know if that's worth it. Yeah, I don't know if my ultimate joy and peace, that's really worth it. I don't know. Think about when you sin. I don't know if you do, but think about when you sin. Think about when you choose to pursue something you know is not godly. When you pursue a heated discussion with your wife. I've done that once or twice. When you go after something that You know, it's often there's a little bit too much joy in the things of this world. Why are you doing that? Well, change it, we don't sin. Really shouldn't talk about that in the pulpit. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to suggest to you the reason we do that is we don't really see Christ as our ultimate joy. We see that other thing as our joy. You know, I figured out how life works, and life works this way, and I know if I pursue this, then I'll get a little comfort or joy or peace in that. We have the treasure, and our joy is in the treasure. We live as paupers and go after this mud pie, as C.S. Lewis once said, because we don't realize the true joy we have over here. We don't realize that everything we really, really desire is over here in Christ. And so we set our lives quite well, thank you very much, to pursue after other things. Is it not true? It's true for me, I know. I can certainly tell you it's true for my wife. I see her mess up like that all the time. No, she puts me to shame. See, there's real value in the treasure. There's real value in Christ. There's real joy to be had, and that's the whole point of this little tiny little parable, is that there's joy to be found in Him. That the things we give up, we're not thinking we're giving up anything. We see the value that we have in Christ Himself, and we cling tightly to Him. Why? So that we might enjoy. We might enjoy Him forever. So that we might enjoy Him forever. Brothers and sisters, if we find that our focus in life tears us away from that, and it's not the first thing we think of, then understand that Christ Himself is there to beckon us back, to offer us grace. That's why His treasure is so rich. The message of this story is not to live perfectly because Christ is worth it, though He is. The message of the story is that He comes to give us life. He comes to give us life, and out of joy we attach ourselves to Him. Out of joy. That the things of this world grow strangely dim, as the old hymns say. The light of His beauty and grace. So the man sells all he has. You remember another story in the Scriptures, I believe it's in Matthew 19. There's a certain ruler who comes on the scene. He's a young man. He has a lot of money, he says. And he's got himself some religion. That's a scary thought. He got himself some religion, and he goes to Jesus and says, "Good teacher, what can I do to inherit life eternal?" Well, Jesus says, first of all, he questions, why do you call me good? There's a sermon right there. We'll skip over it. And he says, you know the commandments. He focuses them to the commandments. You know the commandments. And the young man says, well, I've called these ever since my youth. And Jesus stops him. Because, you know, the commandments, love one another as yourself. He says, okay, let's try that. Let's try that out. Take everything you have. Sell it. Give it to the poor. Then come follow me. You'll have riches in heaven. Aren't you glad Jesus didn't say that to you? You know, you say, well, I'm glad he got that out of the system there. Because I'd be really upset if he came to me and said something like that, right? But the point is, it's the Son of God in the flesh standing right before the man saying, you have riches in me. Don't even cling to any of it. I know you got lots of money. Don't cling to any of it. Demonstrate that you live the commandments by taking it all and treating it like it is just rubbish here on earth, and give it to the poor where it can do some good in changing lives, and just cling to me. Follow me. Walks away sad. He doesn't say he sold everything with joy in order to have the deeper riches of Christ. And then it says, Lord, have compassion upon me. And then the disciples are amazed. They say, well, who can he save then? Who? The man is impossible. It's impossible. Well, there's nothing we can do, not his 10 commandments, not anything that we can do as we press towards God that makes us more holy, that he's going to look down upon us and say, yeah, finally I have someone who can follow me, truly. No, with man it's impossible. But with Christ, with God, he says all things are possible. His grace embraces those of us who fail. It embraces us, and it gives us the energy, the wind, the spirit to walk another step and say, I'm doing that joy. My whole mind today changes. I'm going to follow him out of pure joy. I know that the only reason I can step in his presence is because of who he is and what he's done for me. And I'm going to step there because I think my joy is there. I know my joy is there. We're going to close. We're going to have a song. For those of you who joined with us have heard the song on Worship Night in America this last week at that simulcast. But it's an old song, actually, a very old song. But it's just so sweet. It's talking specifically about the very mercies of Christ and how we come to him. And the very mercies of Christ and how we can come to him, that we might find joy in him. It's called